Hey guys, legendary legends of Leviticus or Legendville. I hope you're doing well. Really am missing you and trusting that we'll be together again soon. I've really been enjoying our time in the book of James, gaining some real practical wisdom from all James teachers. I'm going to be giving us our next installment found in James 2 verse 14 to 26. Now we all know what gravity is, right? Not our youth group, but gravity, the force. Gravity we know is invisible. And if it's invisible, how do we know that it exists? Well, we know that it exists because of the evidence of it at work. So if I let go of this block, it doesn't just hang in midair, it'll fall to the ground. And it falling shows us the evidence of gravity at work. In the same way, if love is invisible, how do we know that love is real or that it exists?
Hey babe.
Hey babe.
There's some tea.
Oh yes, I love tea.
And here's some cookies.
And cookies. What a legend.
I love you.
Wow. I love you too. I'm just going to pop these over here. So how do we know love is real? Well, we know it's real by the evidence at work. Just as we've seen Carissa take time out of her day to sacrificially make tea and give me my favorite cookies and even a kiss is evidence that she loves me. Now, the same as those two, I think James is making a focal and main point in chapter 2 that he's making for his whole book. And the point is this. If faith is invisible, how do we know that it exists? And James will go on to say we know it exists because of the evidence of it at work. It's important to note what James is not saying. James is not saying that gravity or evidence for gravity comes before gravity. In the same way, James is not saying that evidence for love comes before love. And as it relates to faith, I think what James is saying is that faith comes first. Faith in Jesus alone is what comes first. And that faith will come with an evidence that shows it is authentic and real. James is in no way saying that it is our works and good deeds that save us. No, because he knows that as Jesus' brother, that if that was true, then Jesus' life, his death, and his resurrection would have counted for absolutely nothing. And we know that's not the case. Jesus died so that we could have faith in him. And it's that faith that comes accompanied by evidence, which we call work and deeds in this passage. It's important for us as we look at James' framing statement, faith without works is dead, to understand what faith means and to understand what work means in this context. I'm going to define faith as faith trusts God and faith obeys God, and works is a life of loving God and loving others. Now, it's really amazing that we've been able to cover so much of James already, and James has given us evidences up until this point of what authentic faith looks like, right? This might be familiar to you if you've tracked with us. An evidence of an authentic faith is in someone who considers it pure joy when they face trials of many kinds, or someone who knows that they lack wisdom and asks God, who gives generously. It's also evident in someone who doesn't show favoritism but treats people equally, or someone who is quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, or even someone who is not just a hearer of the word but a doer of the word. And we're going to see far more about how genuine faith impacts the way we speak and our tongue and how it's used. And so James gives us 4 examples in this passage, in verses 14 to 26. In verse 14 to 18, he gives us the first example, and that's an example of an ingenuine faith. It's a faith that lacks evidence. And I would love you to go and read that, and then when you meet together as a small group to unpack why this story that James gives us in verses 14 to 18 shows us that there is a lack of a genuine faith at work over here. The second example we find is in verse 18 to 20, where James talks about an intellectual faith. And in this part of the passage, what James is emphasizing is that knowledge of God is not enough evidence for genuine faith in God. He says even demons have knowledge of God. And so his question to us is how do we differentiate from the demons in terms of our faith? Then thirdly, he talks about what it a genuine faith at work looks like. And he gives us two fantastic examples of Old Testament characters who display amazing faith. I'd love you to go find these stories in Genesis and Joshua. It's Abraham and Rahab. They have fantastic stories of faith. And I want you to look for the moments where there was evidence at work of their faith. And then lastly, James ends by saying that just as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead. The last illustration is that of a corpse. The element that makes it a corpse is the absence of a living spirit. In the same way, a faith that is not accompanied by corresponding works or deeds or evidence, James says, is a dead faith. There were two farmers who faced a severe drought. Both of them got down on their knees and prayed. One of them, when they were finished, got up and carried on with their day. The other one went out into the field and sowed seeds, waiting for the rain eagerly. Which farmer do you think showed a genuine faith? Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I trust that it's going to enrich your time in your Bible and in this passage, and you're going to have a fantastic small group together unpacking the questions that will help us dig into what James is saying here. Awesome. Have a good week.